All right, today we're going to deconstruct a proposal that's trying to rewrite the playbook for peace in the Middle East. We're talking about the second phase of President Trump's Gaza plan. But look, this is not just another diplomatic memo. It's a really controversial framework, so much so that it's already being called a colonial-style arrangement, and it's hitting some serious headwinds. Let's dig into why.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. From the get-go, this plan wasn't just facing hurdles, it was practically born out of them. Its future's completely up in the air, and that's really the core issue we're unpacking today. So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. We'll kick things off with the plan itself, then we'll dissect this new board of peace it's proposing. After that, we'll check out how the rest of the world is reacting, compare all that with the tough reality on the ground, and then, finally, we'll ask, what does this all even mean for the future?
Okay, first up, the architecture of the plan. At its heart, it's a new governance framework for Gaza that is, well, to put it lightly, pretty radical. It's a structure that is a complete departure from pretty much any peacemaking effort we've seen before.
So here's how the power is stacked. It's this 4-tier system, right? You got an executive council at the very top, and it goes all the way down to a technocratic committee of experts. But the detail that just immediately jumps off the page is this. Palestinians only get a voice in that 4th, lowest tier. This essentially cuts Palestinian leadership out of any real decision-making power.
So who is on that top-tier executive council? Well, it's headed by Donald Trump himself. And it's filled out with pro-Israel Americans, including his son-in-law, and even the former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. The really critical thing to note here, there is absolutely zero representation from the Muslim world in this highest governing body. As you can probably guess, this whole structure was met with instant and very strong disapproval from Palestinians. It's been called a colonial-style arrangement. You know, a system where outsiders are basically given the keys to Gaza. This feeling of being governed from afar has been a massive source of the controversy right from day one. But wait, the governance structure is only half of it. The plan also cooks up a brand new international body, one that's already being framed as a direct competitor to the United Nations. This new group is called the Board of Peace. According to its leaked charter, its whole purpose is peace-building, and it aims to be more nimble and effective than, and this is a direct quote, the institutions that have too often failed. Yeah, that's a pretty clear shot at the established international order. And when you put it side by side with the UN Security Council, you can really see just how radical this thing is. I mean, look at the difference in the leadership structure, and this is the big one, the veto power. This isn't just an alternative, it's a totally different model for global governance. It's shifting from building consensus to top-down control.
Now, the fine print in the charter is what really set off a diplomatic firestorm. Get this, Trump is the chairman, with sweeping veto power. His personal approval is required for every single decision. You want a permanent seat on this board? That'll be a cool $1 billion. And this whole thing is designed to outlive his presidency, which just raises a whole bunch of other questions.
So with invitations sent out to 59 countries, how did the world actually respond to this new board? Well, the reaction was pretty much immediate, and it was deeply divided. We're talking skepticism, full-on boycotts, and some incredibly harsh criticism. This slide here gives you a really clear snapshot of that split. You've got major European players like France, Spain, and Norway saying, no thanks, just flat out declining. The UK is kind of playing it safe, saying, not right now. But then on the other side, Pakistan and Israel jumped on board immediately. You can see the battle lines being drawn right there.
The Financial Times had this incredibly sharp description of the board's first members. This quote paints a picture of a, let's just say, eclectic group. And it really highlights the concern that for a lot of nations, joining this board looks less like diplomacy and more like caving to pressure.
The Guardian's editorial was even more direct. They basically framed the whole project not as a genuine tool for peace, but as an international body in service to one man's ego. This critique really gets to the heart of the skepticism around what this board is actually for. And then from the human rights angle, you have Amnesty International weighing in. They called the board's creation a brazen disregard for international law. They see it as a direct attack on the very UN systems that are designed to uphold global justice. The first real test for the board came at its signing ceremony in Davos. Out of 59 countries that were invited, less than 20 actually signed the charter. And maybe even more telling was the fact that Western European leaders collectively boycotted the event, a very clear, coordinated signal of their disapproval.
Okay, so let's shift gears from all the high-level diplomacy to what's really happening on the ground. Because at the end of the day, any peace plan, no matter how grand, has to deal with the cold, hard facts of the actual conflict.
And this number is a brutal reminder of that reality. Even with the plan's first phase, the ceasefire, supposedly active since October, over 450 Palestinians have been killed. So while the diplomats are talking, the violence has not stopped.
And the challenges are just huge. Sources on the ground are reporting daily ceasefire violations by the Israeli military. There are still severe restrictions on humanitarian aid getting in, and assaults are ongoing in the West Bank. And, maybe most importantly, Tel Aviv is still being very non-committal about the core issue of withdrawing from Gaza.
And this creates a really big imbalance. The pressure is being put almost entirely on one side. President Trump has warned over and over again that Hamas has to disarm, but he's been pretty quiet about Israel's side of the bargain, their obligation to pull their forces out of Gaza.
So when you add it all up, the controversial structure, the global pushback, the nonstop violence, you land right here at our final section, a path to peace that is absolutely full of unresolved issues and major hurdles.
This table really lays out the fundamental disagreements. I mean, just take disarmament. Hamas is clear. It's not happening until the occupation ends. Then you've got this proposed international stabilization force. Not a single country has committed troops, and that's partly because Hamas sees any foreign force trying to disarm it as an enemy. On every single key issue, the two sides are just worlds apart.
So the bottom line is this. After all the big announcements, the charters and the ceremonies, the plan still doesn't have the support of the two most important players in this whole conflict, Israel and Hamas. And without their agreement, it is really hard to see how any of this actually moves forward.
And this leaves us with one last, pretty sobering question. The risk of this entire plan just falling apart is very, very real. So if it does fail and this already messy situation gets even messier, what on earth does that mean for the future of peace in the region?